All right, so if you all can not mind the dogs demolishing dog food in the background, we'll have a quick little look at Sisu. Let's see, do I have the rule book here handy? I do. Sisu, and that's probably not how you pronounce it, but you know, what are you going to do? It's Finnish. Battles of the Sassari Island, 1942 and 44. Second battle in 1944 is... well, let's just say it's complicated, and there's a lot of naval action around this port here, which I decided I didn't want to deal with and I'm not going to call it complexity, just the extra overhead. So we're going to start with the 42 battle, which is relatively interesting. It's the Finns evading across the ice in the Gulf and attacking the island and forcing the Soviets off the island. So pretty interesting stuff, and I just realized I've got my camera turned around the wrong way, so I'm going to have to spin my little thing around here like that. This is just, I am all about the official and professional presentation. That's a lot better. Now I can see what's going on. All right, so what I want to do with this video is a light overview introduction, and then talk about the tactics for the particular battle that I will employ as the Finns. I don't think there's a lot for the Soviets necessarily to do in this particular battle, because what they got on the battle board here is what they got, and life is going to get real hard real quick for these guys. So let's see. Before I go much further, I'm going to mute my phone so we don't have to deal with any of that nonsense. Okay. All right. So looking at the island as a whole, you can see that at the very top here, I've got these markers laid out, these doohickeys, and these are VP locations. So the white one, I didn't have enough red handy, and I didn't want to go rummaging around in my bookcase. So 2 VPs in that hex, 2 VPs in this hex, 3 VPs in this set of hexes here. These are village hexes, and they have a purple dot on them, which I'll zoom in a sec. We'll have a look at the map detail, because it's kind of interesting. The game comes with 2 maps. This is the winter map, and there's a summer map. There's a lighthouse here and a village as well. The red circle there. Let's see if we can just get in on that bad boy. I'll just move the camera. You have to bear with me. There's one aspect of this camera that I can't really tighten, and it's this sort of rocking left and right. If I tighten it up, it locks in a position that's not useful on the dolly. So purple dot, village, red dot, 2 VPs. Everybody, all the guys pretty much start in a bunker. You're supposed to put the units underneath the bunker. I'm putting them on top because I like to see the units, not the ugly bunker counter. And so there's 9 VPs down to here. There are 2, 3, 4, 5 VPs on the southern portion of the map. And in order to win, you need to have been last guy through the hex. Plus you get a VP for every 3 enemy units you eliminate. And the combat is fairly deadly, based on my A, reading the rules, and B, looking at the CRT. I'm just looking at it here again. You're rolling 2d6, and, well, it depends on the type of combats, because there's direct fire, indirect fires, and then there's close combats and stuff like that. But, there's a 30+% chance or a 30% chance you could probably get a kill. And the rest of the time there are suppressions and bits and pieces and retreats and stuff like that. And obviously not a lot of places to retreat to, although they can retreat across the ice. So looking at this map, and each hex, before we get going much further, there's a turn track over here, down this side here, with hour-long turns, with the time sort of written for some reason down the left spine of the turn track. Let me see if I can zoom in on that for you so you can have a look. Just looks a little odd. So there we've got, it's 0900. Now, if by 0900 I have 6 VPs, the game's over, as the Finns. By 1400, if I have 11 VPs, the game is over. And if not, we get all the way down to the night turn, and then we near the end of the game, then we're just going to tally up all the points and see who won. Right, so I said did I say 300 meter hexes? I think I did. And I said hourly turns. So that gives you a sort of a scale perspective here. Everything is pretty much either a platoon or a section. So we've got Marine sections here, platoon, infantry platoons. We've got, I guess there are squads. There's MG squads here. So stacking involved, all we do for stacking is count the number of pips. And I think it's 9 or 10, depending on what you're doing and what terrain you're in. And then the interesting thing here is all of these contour lines, you can see they may have some impact on movement. I think it's, where is it? Yeah, no effect on movement, but everything is pretty much what they call closed terrain, unless you're out in the ice, and then it's open. So if there's any hex anywhere that has even a slight piece of artwork on it or something like that, it's what they call closed terrain. So this is all basically wooded, but there are heavier woods than other places. As you can see here, there's a close hex here. And I'm just trying to find, yeah, so this is a slope, and these are slopes, and those slopes matter. There are also cliffs, these little black hashes, very difficult to see on the map too. They're just not particularly attractive for slope designations. And then you've got these little things these are actually trails, or I would call them roads. They're called roads here. And then everything else, wherever there are little black squares, they're buildings. And at first I thought all of the building hexes were village hexes, but they're not. Villages are actually not defined in the rules anywhere, other than on the terrain effects chart calls building hexes with a purple dot are building hexes. Nothing is defined as a village, yet the VPs, the victory conditions, allocate VPs for control of village hexes. So I think the terrain effects chart should probably say village hex, because we have buildings here, right? But they're not counted as VP hexes, so we don't have to capture all those. So once we worked out that these particular hexes were the VP hexes, that kind of drove our strategy. And that was the first thing I looked at was, how do we work this out, right? The Finns come in off map across the ice, and my intention is to take, I've got Pajari here, Major General Pajari is going to advance on here and kind of sweep into Sirkaila. I bet you that A is pronounced differently because it's got umlauts over the top of it. But they're going to try and capture that hex there. So that'd be 3, 5, 7 of the 9, right? And he's got the heaviest formation with 3, the 27th, with 3 companies. I'm just checking here that unfortunately also, these counters have not been printed very well. You can see that the font has been cut off here, and some of them are offset a little bit, but the leader counters are the worst. And you can see it looks like here's another one actually that's hacked up as well. There are these art markings. I guess they're supposed to be the edges of the counter, and this is where the edge is here. So they're all kind of foobarred, and I bought it on sale. I'm not going to complain about it. It's just disappointing to see this lack of quality out of the game. So out of the title, but not a lot I can do about it. So anyway. And I went to buy this a year and a half or 2 years ago at a con, and it was $90. And I tell you what, if I had to pay $90 for this in this condition, particularly given there's only 2 scenarios in the thing, and the fact that I had 6 or 7 other charts from another game also jammed in the box, I would have been really aggravated. So the fact that I only paid, I think, $50, and I've got the receipt here somewhere, $50 maybe, or maybe 60 shipped, still expensive, but I think I think some of the gameplay mechanics here are going to be interesting enough that it'll help me get over the weakness of the production quality out of Blue Panther's die cutting for thin counters. And these are incredibly thin counters. They are robust. They're kind of almost like a wood stock, but they are incredibly thin. But you can pick them up and work with them, and they don't slip and slide. They do have a satin finish, so under heavy light, they are hard to read and hard to see and hard to take pictures of. Interesting mechanics that go on here, just briefly. Both sides are going to roll for combat if it's a direct fire combat, so that's a little bit different. And then there's this concept of initiative, and initiative is kept until such point as your fatigue accumulates to per turn to a point where you are forced to roll on a table. There should be a fatigue table here somewhere. I haven't even looked at this, but I just read the rules. Fatigue table, if I'm at 4 through 7, I'm going to lose a number of movement points and all the rest of it. But if on a die roll, 1d6, a die roll of a 1 or a 2, I'm forced to rest. And then what that's going to do is then flip the initiative to my opponent, and he will have initiative for that round. They call it rounds, not turns, but they're turns. I don't know why they call them rounds, just to be clever or different, or maybe that's a Canadian thing. I don't know. Anyway, there's that. So this pushing your luck, mitigated by a die roll concept is interesting in of itself. I think that'll be fun to explore. There's a nice little handy dandy chart here that will kind of run us through all of the different unit classes and what the information means on the counters. The formations, I had a quick read of the historical commentary. That the book does come with, the game does come with a full, I think it's an 8 or 10 page commentary on the two battles. And they were basically, if you read the commentary, they're fairly inconsequential affairs, but they still managed to build a book, build a game out of it. Yeah, it's a 26-page commentary, so lots of pictures and lots of content. So someone did their homework, and it's all very well done, I will say, generally speaking. And it's interesting. So that's kind of what caught my attention. It's obviously there's no other battle I'm aware of, or game, I should say, that covers these two battles that I'm aware of. So that's what kind of captured my attention for the title. Now, the rule book in of itself, I'm not a big fan of the binding because the rule book won't lay open flat for a start. And there's also a lot of stuff in the rule book that you kind of need that possibly could have been on a chart. Some of the wording in the rules are odd, not odd in a language translation, odd, just awkwardly worded for me in any case. So that's a little different, but relatively straightforward so far. Your combat is a function of movement, and you're paying movement points. More movement points you spend to do your combat, the better your chances are. And then, of course, if you've got the combined forces of a particular company or a formation, you will have benefits from doing that. You activate a hex at a time to move, and they must finish and all their movement in combat before you do anything else. There's spotting and line of sight with all of this as well, so then it's all relatively straightforward. So not upset about any of that so far. I will say that the ink has bled also on this map, and it's kind of marred the beauty of this stark sort of winter thing. There's this little village here that I tried to pronounce earlier on. You can see all the locations, right? Well, when the map was folded up, the ink is bled over onto the white map, which I guess that's just either folded up too soon, not allowed to dry, or low quality ink. And there's marks all over the map from where the ink is bled from other bits, other parts of the map, I guess. So it's a very, well, I think it's going to be interesting to play. We'll see what happens. And I'm kind of, every time I get excited about something, I see something else that kind of detracts from the overall excitement. So it's kind of it feels like a budget production and at a premium price. And that is a little disappointing. But nevertheless, I guess these are basically printed on demand, I suppose. Maybe that's why that's the way it is. I don't know whether Red Sash Games contracted Blue Panther to make 5 of these or 500 of them or whatever the case may be, but they started out at a pretty hefty price point. You can also go and buy it online and print it all up yourself. That is a choice. So you could do that and make your own counters and do all that sort of nonsense. I don't do arts and crafts, so that's not my bag. But here we have it, off to turn 1. Major General Pujari is going to start off the action here. We're going to bring in the balance of the forces, this blue formation is called. It's the 6th something, I guess the 6th, what would that end up being? There's only one company here. So maybe that's part of the 6th battalion or something with Captain Oksanen, perhaps. And then I've got another formation coming on with Major Mittinen at the 6 a.m. turn. He's got a big whole stack of guys over there, and he's coming in on this angle. And our intention is to bring him in, capture here. And then these fellas will do one of 2 things depending on how the game plays. They will either conduct a holding action out here and trying to engage as many of these forces up around this area here, or they will try and push in here and build a defensive line to pocket or isolate these forces from being able to push up to the north. That's the game plan. Bit of a long video. Was not meant to be this long. All the best. Talk to you soon. Go roll some dice. Happy Saturday.